All right, guys. So before we actually move to cross compilation, there's one small thing that I forgot to discuss about, which is compile definitions. Compile definitions are basically very simple. Like if you want to use some definitions inside your code, right? And during the preprocessor stage, when your compiler goes through lines that start with hash, right? Like hash include, hash pragma ones, or like hash if def. Yeah, so basically when you say if def and then you provide the definition, or when you define your macros like this, that's a compile definition, right? So I'm gonna write it out, and it's gonna be much clearer this way. And before I write it out, I noticed something odd in the code base, which is I forgot to actually wrap everything in the namespace coffee. Like I know I'm wrapping all the core stuff inside a namespace core, but then I also it's a good practice to actually wrap every single source or every single class you create, every single thing that you create, every single function you create. All that should be wrapped in like a parent namespace. So it's usually named after the project's name, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that real quick. And I'm just gonna say namespace coffee, right? So this is my project's name, and I'm gonna say coffee, and I'm gonna copy all of this, right, core into the coffee and save it, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna basically do the same thing in all of our source files, right? I'm probably gonna fast forward this, so you don't have to watch me do the same exact thing, like I don't know, like 10 times. So yeah, window namespace coffee. Window and then graphics. Namespace coffee and renderer. All right, guys, so what I've done is in every single source file, all the header files and all the CPP files, I've wrapped every single class inside a namespace, coffee, and then inside that we have library-specific namespaces, right? Okay, so that's what I did, and yeah, this is pretty standard, and yeah, nothing new here, right? So let's talk about compile definitions, right? So before we talk about compile definitions, I kind of want to have a use case so that I can demonstrate with an example. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a folder called, well, I'm just going to create a file. I'm just going to create a file called utils. Well, not utils, but, well, let me name it logs, right? logs.h. I'm going to open this. I'm going to put the preprocessor directive called pragma once, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to give the namespace again, coffee, right? And then we're gonna make a function here. Well, let's make a macro, right? Let's make a macro called, I'm gonna make a macro, and it's going to be called coffee, what should we say? Coffee print, right? Coffee print is the function's name, and it's going to take one simple string parameter, and well, let's write the macro, right? I'm gonna do while loop. Yeah, so this is like, I think this is just so that it only executes once, right? And inside it, we're going to define the actual macro. What this is going to resolve to is, I'm just going to keep it really simple. I'm just going to say std cout and then print the message, whatever it is. Like I'm not really checking if the type is std string or like the C string, or I'm not really checking any of that. I'm just like doing it raw like this, which means that if somebody who's using this macro provides in a wrong data type, it's going to complain, right? I mean, the code's going to crash, but yeah, I'm not like, ideally you'd want to like wrap this in a function and then put it in the macro and then use it, but I'm not going to do any of that. You can do it if you're writing your actual game engine, you should definitely do that, right? But anyway, I'm just gonna put this straight up into the cout buffer, and I'm gonna close it with the new line like this, right? That's it. Okay, and that's it. What is this complaining about? Okay, what do you mean? While loop outside this, closing it like this. All right, so yeah, sorry about that. And one more thing I need to do, I think I need to include IO stream manually, because my editor is not recognizing this macro for some reason. Anyway, so I just included IO stream. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna use this macro. All right, I have to like copy and paste every single in every single line that has stdc out. So what I'm doing is I'm basically swapping out all the stdc outs with my custom macro that actually does the same thing. Well, to differentiate, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna add an extra message here. I'm going to say log, and then I'm going to log a message like this. Okay, so just so it's nice. Just so we're differentiating between like the actual normal cout messages and like the log messages. I'll show you what I mean. We're gonna go to core. Well, I think all the logs are in implementation constructors, right? So like this, yeah. All right, so we're gonna have to use this. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use the macro. What did I call the macro? Coffee print, right? Coffee print, right? Coffee print, and I'm gonna have to just, I'm just gonna have to paste this right here. Undeclared macro. Why is that? Okay. I am not sure why this is complaining, but well, okay. It's gonna work. I think it's just my editor being stupid. All right. So I'm gonna quickly paste this right here, and I'm gonna do destroy and close this, and yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do the same thing in other functions as well, right? So this is gonna come from, well, I don't know why this is not recognizing. Include header coffee logs.h. All right, so now it's recognizing. All right, perfect. Now it's recognizing, so which means that we can use this in other classes as well. We used it in application. We're gonna use it in window as well. Window created, window destroyed. All right, let's do this real quick, guys. P message, and we're gonna copy this message here. We're gonna close this. We're gonna copy this. We're gonna paste this right here, and we're gonna destroy. I'm gonna say destroy. All right. So we use this right here. Copy this. We're gonna go to graphics. We're gonna do this instead. We're just gonna replace window with graphics. Perfect. And yeah, we're gonna have to import this, right? We're just gonna import this from, where are we importing this from? From coffee. Did it import? Oh yeah, right here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so we did graphics. We're gonna have to do it finally in the renderer as well, right? So in the renderer, let's just paste it like this. We're not. Yeah, I'm gonna paste it like this. Whoops. What's going on? All right, guys. Sorry. I lost the buffer. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna put it right here. And I'm gonna replace the word graphics with renderer. All right, perfect, that's it. Final thing we gotta do is import the file, and good. So we just replaced all the cout lines with our custom macro. And if we go back and if we kind of run this again, we're gonna run the script that we wrote last time, build.sh. So if you don't remember, like all that it's doing, it's just a bash file that's just doing the same thing that we did manually every single time. Anyway, so CMake, it's just taking in CMake preset, and then it's taking the preset name coffee, and then specifying the source files, and then it's building and installing, right? So so again, inside the presets files, there's more information like binary directory, install directory, where to install, and we're also specifying cache variables, right? Okay, which reminds me, I'm just seeing right now, I want to add another thing. CMake standard required to on, right? So this is basically saying that this standard should be required, like when we're building C++, right? So if it's not 20, then it's going to complain. So that's what I'm doing here. Anyway, so this is the preset file. I'm just using the preset file right here and then building and installing. Okay. If you don't know what this is, you might have skipped the previous section. So go back and watch the previous section. Sorry. And yeah, I'm just gonna enter this and wait for it to complete the build and install. So the reason it's building it again is because I specified some. Did I specify any? Okay, so because I'm just adding a new header file right here, and I'm adding it in other CPP files as well. So that's why it's probably like rendering again. I mean, it's probably building and compiling again. Anyway, so it built and installed. Now let's go back to the game application, and let's try and well, let's go back to the game and see if we need to change anything. I don't think we need to change anything. We can just like okay, so I'm gonna write a tool for game as well, because this is kind of annoying to like manually write like CMake, do that and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna paste this from the game app, and I'm gonna open this. I don't have a preset for the game app, so I'm just gonna remove the preset. I'm just gonna do it manually like this without the preset file. I mean, source, and then what do we have to specify? And the build, we gotta specify where to put the build files, and then in the build, that's fine. And we have to specify not preset, but a prefix, right? Is it a prefix? Yeah, prefix to. Let's go outside one folder and specify the folder called install. Okay, so now we should be able to run this build.sh. And all right, so because I wrapped everything in a global namespace, coffee, I'm gonna have to do this coffee and do this. It's gonna work, or I can just do it like this using namespace coffee. Simple as that, right? I mean, this is a C++ thing. It's not about CMake, but yeah, I'm sure you know what namespaces are. Yeah. All right, so hit enter, and now it built the game, and it basically ran the script that I just wrote, and it installed in the install. If I unhide all my unnecessary folders, I'll go back to install and see that the game is built. All right, so I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna say game, enter. All right, so we got everything that we had from last time, except this time it's actually using the macro that we just made, right? Oh my god, it's actually using the macro that we just made. This is the proof, right? We added a log in front of every single line. So except this one, right? I think we missed this one, but anyway, so you get the point. We're adding the macro and it's working. The macro is kind of working, and now let's actually use let's actually talk about the compile definitions, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna hide all the build and install folders. I'm gonna close game app as well, and I'm gonna go back to the source folder, and I'm gonna go to the CMake lists file where all the library specific stuff is mentioned here. You know, this file. So if we take a look at here, we're adding the interface library called coffee. And then we're specifying the sources, and here we can add some compile definitions. Let's add some compile definitions. I mean, you can add the compile definitions wherever you want, but you can, but like the most appropriate way to do it is right here, because like we have all the definitions right here. So I'm just gonna write it, and you'll see what happens, right? I'm gonna say target compile definitions. I'm providing compile definitions specific to targets, right? So if I say core. For the core target, if I want to provide something like, I'll do public, right? I'll do public, and then I'll define something like coffee underscore debug, right? So this is a definition, just like how you can do like hash define and then write the name. It's exactly the same as doing that from here, right? From the CML file, right? I'm gonna do the same for others as well. I'll do graphics and then coffee debug, and I'm gonna do it to render as well. So right. So what I can do is like inside all the core files, like for example, because this source is specified in core, I can use the compile definition right here, right? So I can just say, what do I say? Like if defined, coffee underscore, what was that? Coffee underscore, what was that? Debug, right? Yeah, debug. So yeah. So this was the compile definition that I want to use. You know what? I'll actually comment this out for now. Let's only take a look at the core target, right? I'm going to take a look at the core target. And so the reason I'm making it public is because I want all the targets that are linking to this to also be able to use this compile definition, right? Again, the compile definition is basically just like doing define coffee debug, right? Coffee underscore debug. This is exactly the same as this, right? All right, perfect. So you defined something called coffee underscore debug here, and you're checking for if the debug is defined or not, right? So if the coffee debug is defined, I'm gonna print a message. Like I'm gonna use like normal logs, stdc out. I'm just gonna say coffee in core, coffee is defined, right? Coffee debug is defined. Perfect. And I'm gonna put a new line and close it. All right. So I'm gonna do this in other file as well. I'm gonna do it in graphics as well, just to show you that it doesn't work in graphics. So like I'm gonna do the same exact thing, copy and paste it right here. So if you remember in the previous, save. Okay. So if you remember, I commented out this for graphics. I'm only defining it in the core, right? Only core has this definition, right? Compile definition, right? So it should, I'm going to change this to graphics, right? In graphics, coffee debug is defined. This should only print if this is available, right? But we're turning it like we're only defining it for core, right? So if I'm going to go back here and I'm going to clear this and I'm going to run the build script again, it's going to have to build it again because we changed some things. All right, so it did, and we're going to run the game application as well, script as well, and let's run the game again. All right, so it only says in core graphics debug is core coffee debug is defined. It did not print one for graphics. Yeah, so that's how it works, right? So the compile definition can be target specific, right? Target specific, and yeah, it will do whatever you want it to do. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna uncomment this, and I'm gonna define it for graphics as well. And then I'm gonna show you that it's gonna work for graphics as well this time, right? So I'm gonna do like this, and I'm gonna go here like this, and do the game. Now it says in core graphics is defined, and in core graphics, okay. So I did a stupid thing. I think I did not save this earlier. So I'm gonna go back here and clear this, and I'm gonna build it again. And I'm gonna build it again, clear this, and I'm gonna run this again, all right? So now it says in core graphic coffee debug is defined, and in graphics coffee debug is defined also. All right, perfect. So now you know, like you can define some compile definitions for graphics, so you can use these definitions inside your code and like do some things with it, okay? So what's the use case? What is the use case that this is actually, like what's the scenario where this is useful, right? So I'm gonna go back to core, I'm gonna delete this thing, we don't need this anymore. And I want to delete the IO stream as well. I don't know why. In the renderer, let's go back to the renderer. And I'm going to delete the IO stream. Do I need IO stream? Oh, okay, maybe I need this because I'm using bulk editor right here. Well, it's okay. I can just keep it right here. It's not a big deal. All right, so I did this. I did core. I did graphics. I did renderer. And what else do I do? All right, so one more thing I want to show you is, all right, so let's go back and see how this is useful. All right, so I'm going to go back to that macro definition where I defined the print macro, like the coffee print macro, right? Coffee print macro. If you remember, I did it right here in the logs file, right? In the logs file, I'm going to close everything else. Oops. I'm going to close everything else, right? So, okay, so it's right here in the include, in the coffee include. I made a new file called logs, and then I define it right here, if you don't remember, okay? So it's defined right here. So what I can do here is I can say if defined coffee underscore debug, only if coffee debug is defined, define this macro like this, right? If not, else, what you do is define this with an empty, I don't know, with an empty string like this, and end if, right? That's it. So what I'm saying here is only if this is defined, actually make the implementation like this. So basically, if you don't know what macros do, whatever you specify here, right? It's just gonna copy these things and it's gonna replace. It's just a string replacement. It's think of it like when code actually runs, and when it sees this, let's say in core, like when it sees this, oops. So when it sees this, it's actually gonna replace it with this. And instead of the message, it's just going to copy this here, and so this is what it's going to do. It's just going to copy it right here. And now, like, it's only going to do if the coffee debug is defined. But if the coffee debug is not defined, it's just going to like resolve it to nothing, right? Because there is no do while here. It's just nothing. Next to it, there is nothing defined. So it's just going to be empty. It's not going to resolve to anything. Again, this is done. This is done in the preprocessor step, right? When we're compiling, remember I told you all the compile stages. If you paid attention in the first ever section when we were talking about the compile steps, the first step was preprocessor, where it resolves all the hash defines and hash includes and all the lines that start with hash. It resolves all that, and then it makes one huge CPP file. In that CPP file, it's going to resolve this to whatever we specify here, right? So anyway, so you get the idea. Now you can use this to manipulate this coffee print function macro to whether to like resolve it to actual macro or not, right? So this is an actual use case of this, right? Of this compile definition. And now what I'm going to do is like I'm going to turn it off, right? I'm going to say, all right. So I'm gonna turn these off, right? I'm going to turn these off. I'm not going to define anything right here. So I just commented them. I'm going to save them just to be sure. Okay, wait. I'm going to have to save this. Did I save this? Okay. So because I'm not defining anything here, it should not print anything here, right? It should only print bulk init because like this is not actually doing, this is not actually using the macro. So yeah, all these lines that start with log, they should not be visible anymore, right? So that's what I'm testing here. Okay, clear this, and I'm gonna do tools, build it again. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back and do the same with the game. Clear this, and when I run this game, it should not print anything. Okay, see, it's not printing anything here, right? Close, and it's only printing malconnected because it's not actually using the macro. Perfect. That's how compile definitions work. And one more thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was something called generator expressions. All right, so let's talk about generator expressions. What are they? Like, you might have heard about them, and then you might have like encountered them when you were like going through some of the commands, right? Some commands, if you went through the CMake reference documentation, or if you will in the future, you might encounter some commands where it says like, hey, this command supports generator expressions, right? So what are they? Like, what can they be used in? All right, so let me like tell you like the actual use case that I came across of these things. So there were actually two. The first thing was when I was when I was not using like the modern file set thing, like right here, when I was not using the modern target sources approach, right? Instead, I was using the old approach where you specify the include directories by hand by using the command target include directories, right? Remember, like I was doing that back then when I didn't know about this, and then I had to like specify the header files separately for each stage, right? So remember, I told you CMake goes through 4 stages, like one configure stage, generation stage, build stage, and install stage, right? So during the generation stage, you can give it some expressions to like evaluate, and it's going to evaluate them at the generation phase, right? So in the configure stage, it will just like read all the CML files, and it will only try to understand what's going on, right? It will read all these things, all these lines, and it will understand what's going on. And in the generation stage, it actually generates the build systems, right? Like if I unhide things, and if I take a look at the build folder, like all these build system files, it generates during the generation phase, right? So in that phase, it gives you an option to like execute some expressions, right? You can just give some expressions, and it will execute them, right? So what does that mean, right? I'm going to give you an example, but let me finish what I was talking about earlier, which was the use cases of this specific thing, of the generator expressions. So the first use case was when I was using target include directories. So I had to specify like where to find the header files, like where to find the include directories during build stage, and where to install the header files during the install stage. So I had to like separately mention the directories for install stage and the build stage, right? So you can do that sort of thing with generator expressions. And I used it for that. That was the use case number 1. We don't need to worry about that anymore because we're using something called file sets, and it lets you do things without all that nonsense, right? So we're not doing things manually, and then we're letting all CMake handle all that. So that use case is like deprecated, like in my opinion. So you don't need to like worry about that anymore. You can just use file sets. And yeah, so the second use case is still valid, which is the actual thing I'm going to discuss about. So the second use case is in the actual compile definitions, right? So in the compile definitions, like you're going to use these sort of variables inside targets, like inside your code to do some things, right? So for example, in this we're using coffee debug inside the logs, right? Inside the logs, and we're saying if def coffee underscore debug, like define this macro, otherwise don't define this macro. So this code is only going to be generated if the compile flag is set. If the compile flag is not set, it's not going to generate that code. Instead, it'll generate this code, which basically results to nothing, right? So you can like choose which code to put, which code to not put in like the executable or in the library, in whatever you're generating. You can choose like which block of code to like omit and which block of code to like put, right? So that's the actual use case of the compile definitions, right? Similarly, like you can do something extra with this, like, right? You can like extend this functionality, like you can extend this use case by using generator expressions, right? And you can use the variables that are available during the generation step, right? So let me give you an example. It's impossible to explain without giving an example. So I'm just gonna give you an example like this. I'm gonna comment this out, right? I'm gonna comment the core out, and I'm only going to like give compile definitions for these 2 targets. So which means what's gonna happen? It's only going to print the things, like if you remember, we're doing it like this, right? So we're doing all the application created and the application destroyed logs. We're doing it from the coffee print macro, and this macro only works if this is defined, if coffee underscore debug is defined, right? So I deleted so I sort of like commented out the compile definition for core. So which means that this is only available in graphics and render. So like if I go back and if I run the build, right? So if I run the build, what I should expect is like it should not print things from the application. Instead, it should print things from everywhere else, right? It should print things from graphics and it should print things from renderer as well, but not from like core associated files, right? Basically application and window, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to build the game as well. Tools, build sh, and we'll build the game. And then I'm going to go to like the bin folder and I'm going to run the game, okay? Perfect. So it's saying graphics created, render created, but there is no window created and there is no application created. And if I close this, we should get graphics created. Oh, okay. So I'm just realizing that there is no destructor method, destructor log, which means basically I forgot to destroy it, or maybe when I was copying the macro, I might have like accidentally deleted it. So I'm going to go back to the graphics and I'm going to see if that's here. All right. Okay. So that's the problem. So because I'm initiating the renderer right here, right? This is a singleton, renderer is a singleton. I'm creating the renderer object here, but I'm not destroying it. So that's a mistake. You have to always take care about your data, right? So I'm just gonna say renderer destroy, right? Here, and then I'm gonna go back there, go back here, and then compile again. And I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna compile the game again. I'm gonna clear this, I'm gonna run the game, and I'm gonna close this. Okay, we got graphics created, renderer created, Vulkan init, and then renderer destroyed and graphics destroyed. Okay, so we got all of the stuff from all the things that we expect it to like print from, right? So basically from the graphics and renderer, we're getting all the functions from, right? So, but from the core, we're not getting. Okay, let me close all of these, right? All the things that we don't need. Okay, so okay, we got this. We understood like what compile definitions are useful for, right? Okay, so now I'll go one step further, and I want to. Okay, I'll copy this, I'll paste it like this, and I'll slightly change the flag for core, right? I'm gonna slightly change the flag, and I only want to do it like this, right? Coffee underscore debug. Only if this one exists, then I want to use this compile definition inside coffee. Sorry, inside the core files, right? Maybe I'll use it in I don't know. I'll use it in application.cpp, and I'm gonna use it in the constructor right away, right? I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna say, oops. I'm gonna say if def, right? Coffee underscore debug, right? So like. This all right, so this is the compile definition, but just note that I'm changing it to small, lowercase, I don't know what this is called, like first letter is capital and then the rest is lowercase. There's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm trying to make a point, so please bear with me. And the others are with capital case, right? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check for this, and I'm going to say end if. I'm going to do a simple log like this, say cout, right? I cannot use this macro because this is not going to work, because like if you go back here, it's only going to work if this is defined, right? But in the core, we're not defining this. We're not defining that capital. In the core, we're not defining the capital debug, so it's not going to work. It's going to resolve to empty. Like when it checks this line, this is going to resolve to like empty lines, right? Anyway, so all right, we're saying if defined coffee underscore debug. If defined coffee underscore debug, what you're gonna do is you're gonna like give me a helpful message, right? Hey, coffee underscore debug is defined in application, or like in core target. Just gonna say like be very descriptive here. I want to basically give a new line and then close it. Okay, simple as that. All right, so I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna compile this again. And I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna compile this as well. And now I'm gonna do the game, right? All right, so I'm gonna close this, and look, it's giving the message, right? It's giving the message, and like it's saying that okay, coffee underscore small case debug is defined, and it's printing the message, right? So far so good, right? So I'm gonna go back to the CML now. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the CML now. I can do the same exact thing with something called generator expressions, right? I can like generate this this thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to like generate the debug string during the generation phase, right? So I can do something like this, right? Coffee underscore, and I'm going to put the word debug, but I'm going to generate it during the generation phase, right? Like this. Okay. Okay. Now pay attention to the syntax here, right? So I'm saying like so the syntax is like this. You can put a $ and then follow that by angle brackets, right? And put your expression in here like this, like your expression, right? Expression, whatever it is, right? Put your expression like this here, and that's basically how your generate expression syntax looks like, right? But don't confuse that with your actual variable declarations, like variable usage, right? When you use the variables, you put like a $ and then you put curly brackets, not angle brackets, right? So when you see angle brackets, so these are generator expressions, and whatever's inside this, whatever's inside the angle brackets, they're like all of these things, they're going to be evaluated at the generation phase, like, right? So when it actually makes these build system files, right, it's going to like evaluate this right then, right? So what I can do is like I can just say something called config, right? So what is config, right? Config is basically like a variable that's available, the value that's available to us during generation phase, right? So as you can see, I commented this out, right? I commented this out, and this is like I just provided this. So I'm gonna have to talk to you about like config. Like it's gonna give you so during the generation phase, it's gonna give you access to like certain variables which you can use, right? And those things sometimes like they're really helpful, and you can like use them to do some things, right? This is just a simple example to show you how it works, and then right after this, I'm going to show you like an actual use case that I'm using in my own game engine, and yeah, just to show you like how it works. So I'm using something called config that's available to me during the generation phase, right? All right, so what happens is like, okay, what does this resolve to basically? So it's basically the same thing as whatever you specify in CMake underscore build type, right? This is whatever value you give it here, it's going to resolve to that. So if you remember what that was, if I go back to like presets, and yeah, look at this. Like this is the same, like this is what it's going to resolve to, CMake build type, and it's going to say debug, right? So config is basically whatever build type you specify in CMake in the during, like you can also do it in the command line, right? In the preset or in the command line. You can remember you can do it like -d, and then in the command line you can just specify CMake underscore build underscore type equals debug directly in the command line. You can do that as well. So whatever you specify there or in the preset file, it's going to resolve that value right here during the config stage, right? So when I go back here and I build the engine again, right? Tools and then build, enter. Okay, perfect. It did something, and I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to build the game again. I'm going to go back to the game, and I'm going to build the game again. All right, so look at this. So it says, hey, coffee debug is defined in the core target, right? So if we go back to the application.cpp, this is what it's saying. Like this is being accepted. Why? Because like it's like we're putting it under like a guard and saying like if this compile definition exists, only then do this, right? But then like we're not giving it statically like last time, right? We're not giving a simple string like this. We're giving it via a generator expression, which is actually resolved during the build, like during the generation phase, where it actually builds these files, right? Okay, so that's now that you understand that this is happening dynamically, what can you do with it? Like what can you actually like how is this useful? Okay, so the way I'm using it in my engine is again with compile definitions, and I'm going to do something here. Please bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to write the generator expression right here, but to give you a general overview of what we're doing, right? So the way I like to use these generator expressions, and I think it's really common. I've seen this in other repos as well, right? When I was researching this, and we have like target compile definitions right here, and we wanna conditionally put this compile definition during the generation phase. Remember? Okay, so I'm going to go back to like this CMake presets file, CMake presets.json, and then like. So we have this general build type flag right here, right? So CMake underscore build type. So what it has is like something called debug mode and the release mode, and maybe there's other modes as well. I don't know, but generally I only use debug or release modes. So if you don't know what this actually means, so when you compile your code, you give your compiler some hint like, hey, do it in debug mode or do it in release mode, right? So what does debug mode mean? In debug mode, so if you make a debug build, it will put in some extra stuff in the binary so that like when you run into an error, like let's say you made an executable and when you're running it and you ran into an error and it seg faulted, say, okay? So it's seg faulted and you don't know where it's seg faulted, and you'll use something like a debugger, like GDB. You will use it to like see where it's seg faulted, and you will have some of the information there. Like, okay, so maybe like you'll get the name of the function, or like maybe you'll get the name of the class or whatever, wherever it's seg faulted. And you wanna be able to like use things like backtrack, right? You can backtrack and see which exact line caused the error, and maybe you can put some breakpoints and stuff like that, right? So you will have some debug specific information available for you, so you can just like use that when you're running into errors, right? But on the other hand, a release mode is something that only contains the code that you need it to contain, right? So the only instructions are the things that you specify in your code, right? None of that extra debug information is in the release mode, right? So okay, perfect. So most of you already know this, right? So we have a global debug flag, and what I want to do, like what I like to do, is like I like to have a specific like target specific debug flag as well, right? So for example, I'm going to say coffee underscore. Oh, by the way, like whenever you're specifying some variables, you can if you want to specify it for your project, the convention is to like name it with your project's name in all caps, right? Coffee underscore. I'm going to say core underscore build. sorry, I'm going to say core underscore debug, and I'm going to set it to on or off, right? I'm not going to set it to debug or release or anything like that. I'm just going to set it to on or off, right? I'm going to put the comma here. I'm going to put it here. Okay. So this is just this is exactly the same as that, but the only thing is like this is my custom cache variable, right? Just like I showed you earlier, like how cache variables work. I'm defining a cache variable, which is like either on or off, right? Okay, perfect. This is a variable, right? That is important to remember because like variables are evaluated at or variables are resolved during the configuration step, right? Remember, configuration step, generation step. After the configuration step is done, then it moves on to the generation step, right? So our generated expressions are evaluated at generation phase, right? So after the configuration stage, right? Okay, so I sound like a broken record right now, but let me go back and show you practically how this is useful, right? So what I like to do, what I want to do is like I want to provide this coffee underscore debug, right? Coffee underscore debug. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it like core underscore debug or whatever, right? I want to provide this compiled definition only when I'm setting it to like debug, like global debug, and when I'm setting it to when I'm setting my flag, right? Let me go back. And when I'm setting this specific flag, if I'm specifying this specific flag to true, right? Only when these both are true, I want to set this variable, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. In a simple if-else statement, like it's going to be like this, like if debug, if this mode is debug, like I'm going to write it in C++ way, right? I'm going to say, I'm going to write it like C++, right? Equals debug, right? Equals debug and equals on, right? Only then provide the coffee underscore debug compile flag, right? So that's what I'm basically trying to do. All right, so how do you do it with generated expressions? That's the whole entire thing, right? So I'm gonna start the generated expression like this, right? $sign and then angle brackets, like I just showed you, angle brackets, and you're gonna say, I'm gonna put it right here, right? And I'm gonna put it right here. So I'm gonna put like an and right here. I'm gonna inside another generated expression, and I'm gonna put something like and, right? And only if this and whatever I'm going to put what and needs inside this later, right? Okay, so if this expression is true, only then this will resolve to like coffee debug, right? So that's what it's doing right here. Okay, so and what's going to go inside and, right? So we're going to have to have two different variables. First thing, I'm going to have to see if this is debug, right? So the way I can do it is very simple. I can just say config, just like I said before, config should be debug, right? So if you don't, so let me talk about this a little bit, right? So we've seen config like this before. We haven't seen, so if we've seen config like this before, right? Remember earlier when we were doing this, I just specified coffee underscore and then I specified like this config and then it resolved to debug, right? So we've seen this before, right? So if you put a colon like this, that's what's happening right here. On the right hand side of the expression, you can do some things like, okay, so config, if config is equal to debug, you can do it like this. So this is basically like an if statement. So if config is equal to debug, then this whole entire thing is going to resolve to a truthy value, right? A truthy value, like either like 1 or maybe on, I don't know, like some sort of truthy value. So if remember, like if this is like a release, like if this is release, it's going to resolve to a faulty value, right? If this is release, right, config is actually release, this one's going to resolve to a faulty value, right? All right, so we have something here, and then the second expression, I'm going to put a comma, like that's the syntax, like and. If you want to and between two things, you can put a value here on the LHS side and on the RHS side, on the right hand side, you can put something like, what was that variable? Okay, so we had this variable like this, right? Coffee core debug, and all right, you're not going to use this variable right away like this, even though like, okay, you're going to have to use the variable, right? So this is actually using the variable. I'm not using a generated expression here. Something to note is I'm using this coffee config variable, and this is going to either resolve to like on or off, right? So this is either on or off, right? So okay, so basically there's just like a slight nuance here. Basically, because like it's a variable, it's going to resolve to like on or off, and these are actually strings. During the generated expression. During the generated expression phase, these are considered to be strings, right? I know this part is annoying. I also like felt like this was annoying, but please bear with me. I mean, please bear with CMake. It's not my fault. So this is what it resolves to, either on or off. And so you're gonna have to like manually convert this, right, with another expression like this, bool, and then you're gonna say like this, right, bool and this. And yeah, so in the and expression, you're checking if the config is debugged, and you're checking if my Boolean expression like is truthy or falsy value. Like you're checking the value of this, the value that I provided, and you're checking if it's true or false by converting it to an actual Boolean, right? A generator expression Boolean, right? And then if this whole expression is true, then only then define the variable, right? Sorry, define the compile definition, right? So okay, so I hope this makes sense, right? I'm just gonna keep it like this because if I save this, it's gonna format to like this weird way. And let me see if I made any mistakes, right? All right, so don't worry if this is like super confusing. Most of the cases you don't need to use them. You only, I mean, at least me, I only use them in compile definitions. And yeah, so the most you're gonna do is like the same thing, and then you can just like copy paste. And even then, like if you stare at this thing long enough, you're gonna easily understand what's going on, right? And all right, so we did the generated expression, and again, like we're only making this if both of them are true, right? In the, like if this is in debug mode, and if manually I specify my core to be in debug mode as well, right? Which is, I'm specifying it right here. And so if I compile this, if I come back and if I say, what should I say? Was it tools and build? If I compile this, all right, so there's something wrong with my generated expression. Parameters and must resolve to either on or off. All right, so it's complaining about something. Let me see what it is. Okay, and we have this, and we have this, and we have the and variable right here, and then we have this debug, config debug. All right, so I'm bool coffee config, and we have this. So the whole expression is like this, and yeah, I think that's on or off, right? We have this variable right here, okay, and this is true, okay, and then we're gonna have coffee debug, and then we're gonna have it like this, right? Okay, let me try and do this again. I don't know why this is complaining. Okay, that was super weird. Oh, maybe like it did not accept that format. Maybe like there's some spaces in that, so that's probably why. All right, so we did this, and then let's compile the game. Compile the game, and then we compile the game, and then we'll clear it, and then we run the game. Okay, so yeah, now it's saying application created, window created, graphics created, render created. Okay, yeah, why? Because like we've turned on debug mode, and we set coffee debug on. Now let's set core debug to off, right? So when we set this to off, this is debug and this is off. So both are like the and is going to evolve, like this and expression is going to evaluate to false, and so this variable should not exist, right? If this variable does not exist, then we should not see the application created and window created and application destroyed and window destroyed, right? So so that's basically the use case, right? So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna I'm gonna clear this, I'm gonna build it again, right? I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna build the game again, I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna run the game again. All right, look at this, right? So only graphics and render are created. So okay, I hope you understand what I mean by this, and it's like, I mean, it's like a tiny use case, but it's like really super, I mean, it's really nice if I do it like this. Anyway, I'm gonna paste similar things for graphics and render as well. Graphics, and I'm gonna say a similar thing for renderer as well, right? I'm gonna have render specific things. Okay, let me replace core with graphics, right? Or I'm just gonna say GFX, and I'm gonna replace core with renderer. Well, you know, I'm gonna replace this with actual graphics because, like, sorry. Anyway, so we have all three now, and I'm just gonna delete this. We're all using the fancy generator expressions, and we're setting them to on or off. And let me actually define them here. I'm gonna say core to graphics, and similarly, I'm gonna do this right here. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, forgive me, guys. I'm gonna say renderer, right, to off. Okay, let's try and do some permutations and combinations, right? So if I'll say core off, I only want graphics, right? I only want graphics to be on. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna do tools build. Oops, something's wrong. It says missing semicolon preset. Oh, okay. Sorry, semicolons. Sorry, it was missing the commas, right? I'm gonna clear this. I'm gonna build this again. So remember, like now it should like only print the graphic stuff, only print the graphics debug stuff, right? I'm gonna go back here. Sorry, I'm gonna go back here. It's gonna take a while. Oh no, it did. It was fairly quick. Right. We're gonna do game again, and right. So it's only doing graphic stuff, right? Now, okay. One final testing. I'm gonna make it release, right? release, and even if I specify like this, all of them to on, none of that should work, right? Because I'm doing the release mode, and in the release mode, it should not print anything except maybe like the Vulkan init because I'm not using the macro, right? So I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do this again. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna build the game, right? I'm gonna build the game, clear this, and I'm gonna say game, enter, and nothing's printed except Vulkan init. And that Vulkan init is coming from this, right? Because we're not using the macro here, we're just using a cdc out. So that's why it's coming in. So I hope you understand this. I'm gonna change it back to like how it was, debug. You can use like target specific stuff, and yeah, so that's how I like to use generated expressions. All right. Let's go and do cross compilation, and that's the final thing, and then we're done. And then I'm going to talk about my game if you guys are interested, and you guys like if you want to look at what I'm doing, and then yeah, okay. Let's jump into cross compilation now. Okay.